right. Welcome to the Paranormal Highway. Today we got a good show for you all. We got a battle between two ghost stories that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't heard of. And you hear that echo? It was the ghosts already screwing up with my channel, already screwing up with my buttons. How dare they? We got the Snedeker House, as of course is known as the Haunting in Connecticut. That movie, The Haunting in Connecticut, about the funeral home. And we got the Smurl Haunting. What's scarier? What's the bigger story? Guess what? Best part is up to you for whatever reason. So the poll is up now. You can put in your vote now or wait till you hear both stories. Maybe you'll have a change of heart. If you don't know the stories, well, let's hear them first before you put in your vote. You don't have to do it right now. And then maybe at the end of the show, we'll pick one from each family and we'll put them in a fist fight. Who would win in a fist fight? All right. We always do that. We always have fun. So what you got to do right now, everybody in the chat, what you got to do right now, while I played the intro, go get some popcorn, go get some coffee, whatever helps you for this show, go do it. Hey, go in the bathroom real quick. Do Bloody Mary 3 times and tell us if anything happens. Because this show ain't nothing without you all. So let's strap on. Let's get in our freeway. Let's get on that road because it's time for the Paranormal Highway. And I can't play the intro, but I will now. All right, we already got great news. Great news is Dina P survived the hurricane, so that's great news. We know Florida got hit hard, and it's good to see some people living in Florida watching my show, because if they're watching my show, that means they survived pretty well. Unless they're in a hospital or something and you don't feel better unless they watch my show. I mean, that's cool too. But guys, listen. The debate, there's always going to be a debate, no matter what, if the stories of either house is true. I can't confirm that there's some real hauntings at either of these houses. I can't confirm that. I wasn't there. I'm taking stories just like the way you guys do. Same exact way. So when you base your what's the bigger story, it could be for different reasons. Well, I know this one more versus the other one. Okay. Or I think this one might be more true haunted than the other one. So there's really no right or wrong. It's whatever you choose. But the main part is maybe we get to learn something about these houses. So you can see here, you got the Snedeker family right here. Also, Ed and Lorraine Warren are on these. And you got the Smurl family, good-looking family. Now, there is a connection to both stories. Ed and Lorraine Warren were investigators on both these stories. Doesn't matter how you feel about Ed and Lorraine. I don't care how you feel about Ed and Lorraine. They came in after the claims of the places being haunted. Now, if you believe they're exaggerators, that's a different story. We're not talking about the exaggeration of Ed and Lorraine. We're not talking about that. They came to these investigations because these places are already claimed to be haunted. So let's just clear that part. This is not a too many people are on so many different sides of Ed and Lorraine, and it's crazy. Don't let that misjudge you the paranormal story of these houses. All right. Now we're going to start with the Snedeker House. Snedeker House. I got some videos, of course, but let's pull it up. Okay, so the Snedeker House. There is a movie out called The Haunting in Connecticut, and it is on one of the streaming services. I can't remember if it was I think it was Amazon Prime. That is free. If you're a member, you can watch it. You know, the idea is basically a family rented this home. Now, I love it what they wrote here. Move into a simple white duplex. They rented home in Solington, Connecticut, right? Now, this simple white home was a funeral home. It was downstairs. It used to be a funeral home. So how does that a simple white duplex? You know, I never heard of a simple white duplex. Oh yeah, by the way, it used to be a funeral home. They used to drain blood and do whatever. So that makes it a simple white duplex. I don't even know who wrote that made it a super simple white duplex. You know, and the story is that when they moved in, you know, the oldest son has Hodgkin's disease. So, you know, he was sick and he survived today. And I got some, the videos I'm going to show is actually the oldest son talking about experience. So you get to see a video of the actual oldest son that was in that house. You know, so, you know, beyond that, I'm probably just going to start these videos and all that because, I mean, why do you want to read? You know, we already know that Ed and Lorraine Warren, demologists, were involved, you know, with the case after the haunting was claimed. They didn't go to a house and say, hey, is your house haunted? No, they were called in for a haunting. So, Eliza, can you just shut up? My dog is just whining. So let's play the first video and let's hear some things. Oh man, is it gonna do one of those? All right. Why can't we hear anything? All right. I guess we can't hear anything on that. So let me take it off and let me bring it up. StreamYard is weird sometimes. It's weird. So let me see if I bring it up and we'll be able to hear the video. Let's check it out. Give me a second. I got to refind it. Let's see if this works.
John Zaffis. John Zaffis did spend an extended amount of time at that house and did experience what he felt was true paranormal types of activity. Looking forward to finding out his take on his investigation and how this whole thing progressed in his own mind. The character who was really portraying you seemed to have been under some kind of psychic pressure from this entity. Did anything like that happen to you?
Carmen and Al would be sleeping in their bed. I had a mattress on the floor. And Carmen would go into these deep paralysis. We call it phantomania. It's when a person can't move, they can't reach out, they can't talk to you, nothing whatsoever. There were two different occasions where I experienced things at the same time she was. I was getting pulled right into wherever this was taking her. Carmen, Al, John, the two other researchers, her two nieces, Ed and Lorraine Warrens. There wasn't anyone that got involved that did not experience something or had something occur afterwards. You don't forget those types of things when you go through them.
What did you see that was not?
Okay, so far, the people who live in the house till this day still say they have felt things there. They seen stuff. So it wasn't later on. They're not denying nothing. And they talk about how people were involved. Like I said, Ed, Lorraine, and Warren, they were involved after the fact. You know, they're experiencing the haunting. So to this day, the family members still sticking to their story that the place is truly haunted.
Not portrayed quite accurately in the movie or differently.
Her son did not break the walls open and bodies come tumbling out.
The movie depicted a much different story than what really happens. You know, there were no bodies in the wall. You know, there was no family that was having seances and trying to raise the dead. There was no ectoplasm. There were no eyelids in a box.
There are no known stories about cadaver mutilation made for a good movie, but really did not match up with real life.
There was a reality to the haunting in Connecticut, just a little bit different than.
Okay. So again, movies do exaggerate, but that's what the movies are going to do. They're going to exaggerate. Their job is to entertain you in the theater. That's their job, period. But it's up to you yourself, to go research on what really happened. And that's the idea of a good movie. I don't care if they add whatever. I mean, they can add whatever they want, because first of all, you know, all movies are exaggerated. All of them. Sports, real true story sports movies, everything is exaggerated. But it's up to you to go find out what really happened. It's based on a true story that the place is haunted. But yeah, they never found dead bodies in the walls and all that. And my God, I mean, when did that? I guess we won't stink up the house, because if you drain all the blood and fluids, you know. But I would still think there'd be some kind of a smell, right? A rotting smell. I mean, I don't. Oh God, my dog is just a whiner today. So again, the movie kind of stretched the truth, but what's new, right? What's new? Okay, so let's get rid of this video. God damn it, I can't even remember what this one is. Oh, God, I hate that when none of the videos you have up ready to play and they don't play. I don't know what's with StreamYard sometimes. Now, this next video is a guy's point of view. Tells you the story a little bit, and it kind of tells you what he thinks. So it's a point of view from a person. And I like these kind of videos, because I like to hear regular people's sides of a story.
Here I am in front of the house that Alan and Carmen Snedeker moved into in 1986. They rented the home to live in it with their daughter and their 3 sons. After living in it for a short period of time, they found some weird paraphernalia in the basement, only to find out that this home used to be a funeral home. After that, they started discovering...
Hey, before I go further, everybody in the chat, if you had an opportunity to buy like this big home, and it's cheap because it was a funeral home, would you guys buy the house? In the chat, would you guys buy the house? So put yes if you buy the house. Put no, like nope, I am walking by, even though you're getting a deal of a lifetime because it was a known funeral home. So would you wonderful people in the chat buy that house? And I'm looking. So far, I see Dina, yes. Witchcraft family, yes. So 2 for yes. That's awesome. That's awesome. Come on, somebody else. Come on. Bob, Ron, would you guys buy the house? Of course I do. I do YouTube. The more haunted, the better. That's duh, right? If you do a YouTube channel, I mean, what's better than as a, hey, we're doing a YouTube channel for the basement of the, of the house, you know? Yes, I buy it and turn it into a frat house. you know, you'd be the most popular frat house. And hey, guys, I'm gonna tell you something. Long time ago, this is a true story. My wife and I, in a town called Des Moines, it's right outside of it's suburb of Seattle. Suburb. We bought this house. We got it at a real cheap price. And the reason why we were able to buy this house at a cheap price wasn't that it was haunted. They made meth in the garage. And they made meth, right? So they got caught, of course, because I think a refrigerator exploded or something. You know, they had to tell us. So they actually made meth in the house. And this is the kicker. This is the kicker. The people who made meth, their neighbor on the right was a woman who was a police officer. No shit. They made meth next to a neighbor who's a cop. Who's a cop. and that's true. I mean, hey, great for me because nobody wanted to buy the house because everybody's afraid that people are going to come back with a meth house, even though the neighbor was a cop. We're like, it was a good neighborhood. It wasn't a bad neighbor. It was a good neighborhood. So I got a house cheap because they made meth in the garage next to a cop who was next to the neighbor who was a cop. And she was a very nice cop. You know, she was very, very, very nice. So wow, that's even better. I would be searching every day. I bet there's a Coach stash here. And the funny thing is, once you buy a house in the state of Washington, where they have to tell you what the house was, and if, you know, when we had to move to Maryland, you know, we had to sell it when I moved to Maryland for a job. You don't have to tell that the house was one time was used for meth because you only have to release the information from the previous owner. So, true story. All right. Don't know what this next video is. We're still on the Snedeker House.
Real ghost story. You may recall our telling you about.
Okay, this is just like a short. The reason I'm showing this is I love one of the things I love watching Danny Stanton's channel where he plays a lot of old stuff like old videos that you may be seen. This is like an old news story during the time of that haunting. I love seeing these old news stories when they cover a haunting.
Chapter 2 of what some are calling a real ghost story. You may recall our telling you about what some call a haunted house in Southington. Well, something's afoot there again, and Elizabeth McGuire brings us the latest.
I'm still afraid of this house.
Well-known ghost hunters Ed and Lorraine Warren were called in after family members claimed they heard mysterious voices and saw apparitions. The house is a former funeral home. Pulleys that used to lift coffins are still in place. A table once used to prep bodies now holds laundry. Each night for weeks, Carmen has laid out mattresses in the living room. The family and the investigators...
Isn't it weird? You're renting a house out? Shouldn't they... I don't know, if you're the owner and you're, you know, because they didn't buy the house, they're renting it. Wouldn't you want to get rid of type of furniture that dead bodies were known to be on it? I mean, I just don't see an attraction to that. Oh, you know what, guys? I feel so bad. I'm skipping. I kind of got rid of the other story of the guy and skip it to this. What? I'm sorry about that. Hold on. Let's go back. Let's finish the other video first.
Here I am in front of the house that Alan and Carmen Snedeker moved into in 1986. They rented the home to live in it with their daughter and their 3 sons. After living in it for a short period of time, they found some weird paraphernalia in the basement, only to find out that this home used to be a funeral home. After that, they started discovering weird noises in the house, seeing weird things, and they began to be haunted by demonic activity. In fact, they described one of the demons being long black hair and black eyes, another one with white hair and white eyes, wearing a pinstripe tuxedo. Ed and Lorraine Warren began to investigate this. They're ones that had investigated the Amityville horror, and they declared that yes, indeed, this is a haunted house. They wrote a book about it, and that book in 2009 was turned into a movie called The Haunting in Connecticut. Is this an urban legend, or is this the truth? Is this a real haunted house? Well, as I started thinking about it, I started wondering, if you're living in a haunted house that you're renting, you don't own this, but you're renting it, and you start experiencing demonic activity that's terrifying you and your family, would you just stay there, or would you move on? They claim to be there.
Now, that's a good point. point. That is a good point. They didn't own the house. They were renting the house. And if the haunting was as scary as they made it sound, wouldn't you move? I start thinking about that too. And the only thing I come up with is, depending on what kind of contract they sign, when you rent a house or apartment, sometimes you're making an agreement for a year or 2 years. And if you leave, you still have to pay up to that year, depending on what the contract was. And I'm sure going to a judge and say, we want out of our contract because the house is haunted. I mean, I don't know what a judge, most judges probably like, okay, house is haunted. Here we go again. Probably get turned down. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. I truly don't know. Why would you stay? I get it. If you own it, you don't have a lot of money. You don't have a choice. I mean, you have to sell the house first before you have enough money to move. Not everybody, most Americans or people around the world live check by check. So you don't have the luxury to be able just to move out and move in somewhere, hopefully you're selling it or so. Ooh, that is so cool. Ed Lorraine lived in the next town. And we're going to talk a little bit about Ed Lorraine because I got another video that got me going a little bit. Let me just say, got me going. Just got me going. So let's hear the rest of this.
For 2 years after the fact. Not only that, the people that lived in the house previously never experienced any of this activity, and the people that lived in the house afterward never experienced any of it either. So my opinion is that they were looking to cash in. Well, see, what happened is they hired an author to write their book. The author came back and said years later that none of their stories even matched up, and they told him, just make up whatever you want, just make sure it's really scary. My opinion, this is just an urban legend.
Okay, now let's talk about this for a second. People beforehand of this house never said it was haunted. Well, of course not. They're trying to get it rented, right? They're trying to get it rented. They're not going to tell you the house is haunted. They want you to move in, right? I mean, that's nothing. Now, people afterwards never experienced anything. Now, according to the Snedeker House story, that the house was cleansed. They cleaned the house. I'm not saying you have to believe that or not. Now, technically, if the house is cleansed and done properly, you shouldn't have an experience. So there's that. Or maybe you're a person who bought the house now or in it, don't want the publicity, don't want people to coming around taking pictures. So if some things do happen, you don't want people to, knocking on your door and coming in and all that. So there's that too. So, but I'm basing it on when they said that the house was cleansed. So if the house was cleansed, it would make sense. So I'm just saying people before, after does matter some stories, but in this story, they did say the house was cleansed. So that has to mean something beyond that. Let's go back to that news story again.
Keeping together for safety and to keep a close watch on what may exist in this house.
The Warrens encouraged us to go public. Basically, they said that it would...
Hold on a second. Maybe something followed them home. That's true too, Scott. Maybe the haunting there got attached to this family and they followed them. Now the family said nothing's happened since they moved, but maybe they followed them.
Get the church in quicker, that the church hated publicity.
Because, see, there's certain protocol where the Catholic Church is concerned. They're just not going to send a priest in. It usually starts with the...
I love this. Most people don't even cleanse their hands. I love that. I love that. I love that. Oh, so in that little news story, you heard the mother, talk about the experience and all that. And What she's explaining is that Ed Lorraine wanted to basically go in because if you wanted to get authorized by a church, there's a set of procedures you have to do. A church just ain't gonna. You just can't walk into a church and say, "Hey, my house is haunted. Can you bring me somebody over?" There's a procedure they got to do. Now, each church is different. I don't know what the procedures are. You know, I never had to go to a church to say, "Hey, can I get my house cleansed?" But there are procedures, and I'm sure that you're not on top of anybody's list. So, how long does that take? I don't know. I never, I never, I don't know somebody. Maybe somebody in the chat knows somebody. I don't know if somebody has went to a church and said, "Hey, my house needs cleanse," and the moment they went to the church and said they're haunted, how long did it take for a church to send a priest out? I don't know that answer. Maybe somebody in the chat has experienced that. Maybe you could tell us how long it took a priest to come to your house. Was it a week, a month, 2 days? And I'm sure different areas, different churches, rules are different. Lorraine didn't waste time if there was no spirits, and Ed didn't waste time if the people seemed to be BS. And I'm gonna play this next video. There was a 30-minute documentary in a way, and I took this clip out because there was something here that kind of pissed me off. And it doesn't matter how you feel about Ed and Lorraine. Now we're gonna get to this Smurl in a second. You know, I try to do 30 minutes, so we hear both stories and we can make a judgment. But there's something here that I want to bring up. So listen to this video. God dang it. Sometimes I freaking hate StreamYard. I don't know why sometimes videos don't work. So now I got to find the video and bring it back up. And I'm glad Mike's here because I think Mike can want to hear me say this.
There were several different things that actually had transpired in there. We had rumbling that went through the house.
All the time. It was cold, it was nasty, and it was dark in that house.
Ed and Lorraine Warren was there. Mr. Warren got some chest pains. I was very concerned for his well-being.
And at the climax, it was like it just broke.
The second we said amen, it was like spring showed up in the house.
And that home was successfully exorcised.
Okay, so the house was successfully exorcised. So that would make sense on why the people who moved in next did not experience anything. Just want to bring that out there.
But when the ritual was over and we went to collect the relics, they had found that the hands were missing off of the Madonna, and I kept it until 3 years ago when I gave it to John Zaffis, and it's in his museum to this day. After the exorcism was performed, we waited 6 days to make sure everything was clear, and we moved out.
When we moved down to where we live now, nobody knew us, and it wasn't really talked about.
I was so angry at this point that I disconnected from the Warrens and everyone else, and we just moved to Tennessee, and I disconnected from them all. I wanted nothing further to do with them. I saw what kind of people they were. They wanted to use my story to get their own notoriety.
Tonight's program will be about the haunted funeral home.
They didn't really care what happened to my children, or me, or my husband, or whether we ever came through this alive, dead, or whatever.
It was another case for us. They were a nice family. They stuck together. That was very important. No, we just move right on.
I'm going to say something right now. I'm going to say this. They are professional paranormal investigators. Doesn't matter what you're saying if they exaggerate. That doesn't matter in this case. They are professional paranormal investigators. That's their job. They do hundreds of cases in a month, in a year, right? And you can't get personal on cases because you see so many cases. It's like, listen, you go to a doctor in the hospital. lose patients all the time. They can't get personal with the patients because you got to move on. You have to move on. Does a doctor who does the surgery keep calling you back? I mean, there might be a procedure they have to for a certain amount, but I mean, they move on. You move on. Doctors' jobs, you move on. What do they want? It's not like if you're a part-time investigator, you only do something on a weekend and you might have time to call back. But Ed and Lorraine Warren were professional paranormal investigators. Now they go and say, well, they want a book or they want to whatever. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to use hold on a second. Give me 1 second. I gotta. Hold on. I'm trying to. All right, hold on. I'll just say this. Let me say this, and I hope nobody takes it the wrong way. Every one of you in the chat knows Jessica Jones, right? Jessica Jones, the 100. She has a YouTube channel. She actually went out on an investigation with the Long Island Bigfoot, right? She has her own people. She has a YouTube channel, and she's on Space Out Radio. So say I wanted her group to come to investigation for me. I called her up and say, hey, can you guys come do an investigation? They do a lot of investigations. She comes, she does it. Listen, I know she has a show, and after the investigation, after done, I'm sure that she's going to ask me if I could come on her show and talk about the experience that we just had. All right? I'm like, and I'm sure if I go, Jessica, I don't want the story out. And I'm sure she goes, no problem. No problem, Eric. If you ever want to talk about it, let me know. The Cryptid Huntress. I'm sorry about that. Thank you. The Cryptid Huntress. And she probably respect my wishes, and she will have a show. But of course, she's going to ask me. She has a show, and the thing is, if I asked her for her help, I know she has a show. I know she's on Space Out Radio, and there's a good chance that she might ask me to come on. And for whatever reason, if I don't want to, she's going to move on to the next case. That's what you do. You move on. It's for Ed and Lorraine, it's a business for them. These weren't part-time paranormal investigators. These were real investigators. Now, if you want to say they exaggerate stuff, that's a whole nother story. But they should listen. They helped. They left. So, however you feel about the Ed and Lorraine, she should have said that. You're at the end of the day, you are a case number and you move on. FBI does a case, they solve it, or whatever solved, they move on. They move on. They move on. You move on. That's what you do. So, all that. All right. Now that is the Snedeker House. But now, what about the Smurl Haunting? Let's hear a little bit about the Smurl Haunting. And we'll see how hold on a second. I want to read a second. Think how long it takes Lorraine to recover after the kind of an event. I guess this lady thinks she should have done more. And Mike, that's my point. I mean, what do people want? It's not like you didn't know they have a show. They do books. Listen, I have no problem with people doing stuff to support their love. I mean, if I wanted to be a full-time paranormal investigator, full-time, I'm going to take hundreds of cases. How am I going to pay for that? Where's the money going to come from? Right? If I could write a book that could fund it, if I could go on a TV show that could fund it where I could continue doing my investigation, I'm going to do it. I would love to be able to be in the mountains every single day, do a Bigfoot hunt, and but supplies, everything costs money. So I don't have a problem put people. Now, I do have a problem if people start to exaggerate stories on purpose just to get money. That's a different story. That's a different debate. But let's check out the Smurl.
The Smurl Haunting, also known as the Smurl family haunting, is a chilling paranormal case that took place in the 1980s. The Smurl family, consisting of Jack and Janet Smurl and their 4 children, moved into a duplex house on Chase Street in West Pittston, Pennsylvania in 1973. Little did they know that their new home would become the center of a terrifying and well-documented haunting. Just a year after the Smurl family moved in, the haunting began, with seemingly harmless incidents. The family noticed loud noises like pig grunts, as well as strange smells that permeated the house, including a pungent odor resembling that of rotting meat and smoke.
And you heard that with a lot of cases of hauntings, of smelling raw meat, and hearing sounds. And and when I listen to different stories, since I'm not there, I wasn't part of the investigation. I like to take notes on things that are similar with other stories, and you could develop your own, like usually certain things that does happen to make your own judgment if a place is haunted. I mean, if you can't be there, you can only go off on what kind of stories they're telling you. And you should write, if you can't be there, write down on certain things and see how it lines up with other hauntings in a way. And now every haunting is going to be different, different levels of a haunting. I get that, but there will be some similarities to certain hauntings. So
one of the earliest occurrences involved footsteps and scratching sounds, as if something unseen was moving around the house. Objects began to move on their own, sometimes violently. As time went on, the paranormal activities intensified, and the family experienced a series of disturbing events that defied rational explanation. The paranormal activity escalated to physical attacks on the family members. They reported being scratched, pinched, slapped, and even pushed down the stairs by an unseen force. Their mattresses shook violently at night, and family members would wake up with unexplained bruises and bite marks on their bodies.
You know what? If anybody has ever watched my channel, hey Carla, so glad to see you here. Love you, girl. Bob and I, if my brother's still in the chat, my brother and I would tell stories how he woke up with scratches on his body and wake up with bruises. Shit, one morning I woke up that I had to rip something in here somehow. I'm not saying it's because something was haunted, but something ripped it somehow. I wasn't doing anything crazy, but this kind of a haunting is kind of more of a danger haunting, especially being pushed on the stairs. And there's Bob. Bob has told a story where he woke up with scratches on his leg. So, and where did the scratches come from? I remember, and I remember when I told Bob about my scratch, Bob had the right question. Bob goes, "Was it your dog?" Because I had a little Girly Sue. Girly Sue was my before she passed away. She's my little Chihuahua, and my Chihuahua was nowhere near my feet when I had my scratch. Where did that come from? So, people all around had experiences, bruises, and all that. Now, did it happen where you bumped into something during the day and then it comes during the night? Of course it could have happened. Could have. But a lot of people have experiences.
Apparitions and shadowy figures were also witnessed throughout the house that seemed to come and go at will. Some of these figures were described as dark and menacing, heightening the sense of terror within the home. The Smurl family lived with these disturbances for several years, enduring sleepless nights and constant fear. In 1986, after enduring countless terrifying encounters, they decided enough was enough and requested help. They contacted 2 demonologists.
Well, actually, Ed was the demonologist. She was the medium. So they weren't both demonologists. Ed he has a college degree in demonologist. So he went to schooling for it. So there's a little correction. Not both. He was, and she was the medium. So again, Ed and Lorraine were called in, but after the fact that the house was haunted. So then Ed and Lorraine didn't say, that house is haunted. We must go help them. They were called. Okay. After the place was haunted. Real hauntings are caused by an empath unaware of their gifts. Yeah, I mean, there's no direct science to really explain exactly what can cause a haunting. It's and people come up with their own theories with years of investigations and all that. So what you said, Gigi, could be absolutely true.
Ed and Lorraine Warren, a well-known couple and pair of paranormal investigators who had previously worked on famous cases like the Amityville Horror. The Warrens visited the Smurl residence and conducted multiple investigations over the years. During their visits, they witnessed several disturbing events themselves, including objects moving without any apparent cause, unexplained knocking sounds, and a dramatic drop in room temperature. The Warrens concluded that the Smurl home was infested by a very powerful demon. Skepticism arose in the community regarding these events, partially from Professor
Now, okay, hold on. Let's hear this about the skeptic guy.
Paul Kurtz, who is the founder of the Committee of Skeptical Inquiry, formerly known as the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal. Good call on simplifying the name.
First of all, I'm going to say something. People being skeptic, I don't mind. People should be skeptic on a certain level. That's why you always hear do your own investigations, do your own research. And you should question things, trying to determine on what caused, I don't know, a haunting or what caused a sound in the woods where you think it could be a Bigfoot or a UFO, a drone, trying to figure out a drone. So being a skeptic, I have no problem with. The problem I have here is when you have an organization that's calling yourself the skeptic thing, the problem is a lot of these people already automatically, doesn't matter what kind of case it is going in and basically you're a liar. They're not going in there as a true open-minded person that you could be more on the skeptic side, but you're willing to admit that you can't solve this. This guy here, do your own investigation on this guy. I'm not going to go into his story. There is no listen side to him. This guy is a ball buster, and he's going to be a skeptic before he even steps in and do his testing with science or whatever it is. Like I said, I have no problem with someone being a skeptic. You should ask questions. That's what you should be doing. But to have that mind frame, oh, I'm a skeptic. It's not real. Oh, everything that Long Island Bigfoot Mike does on his channel, he's not real. How do you know that? And I'm sure if this guy went with Mike, oh, that's this. He won't have an open mind to like, oh, you know what? I can't explain that. That is strange. That's one thing I can't explain. See, I like those kind of people that you can explain certain things, but if there are things you can't, they'll come out and say, but there is one thing I could not explain. That is a mystery. See, I like those kind of people, but these kind of guys like this, it's like, you can say on one end that Ed and Lorraine is making a name for themselves as private investigators, right? They're making a name for themselves. He's making his name for himself as being the skeptic. There's the good and the evil, right? There's two sides, and there's money to be made on both sides, right? There's gonna be money to be made from people who believe you, and there's gonna be money from people who don't believe you and want you to go after them. So there's money on both sides. I like the people in the middle. I support the people in the middle, but the problem is people in the middle don't make money. Sad, right? Sad, right? Yeah, that guy, my God, I tell you. Well, Cryptid Huntress, I don't know how long you've been in the chat. We talked about you in the middle. I used you. I used you as as supporting a saying what this lady said about Ed and Lorraine. I actually used you, but it was all great stuff. Oh, great stuff, Jessica. But I actually used you in the story in the middle of the show, trying to prove a point. Let's listen to this bozo.
Paul claimed that the Warrens weren't objective or impartial investigators, and considered the claims of the Smurls as hoaxes, charades, a ghost story. The family's claims were possibly due to hallucinations, delusions, or impairment of their brains.
Okay, listen. Okay, all illusions. All illusions. Every single one of them? Every single one of this family, unfortunately, all were experiencing illusions. Listen, if you say one person is experiencing the illusion and that was the only person that has had the experience, all right, there could be some truth to it. But every single family member, they're all sick in the head somehow? They're all illusionists? Really? Every one of them? Wow. Okay.
Claimed. He advised them to seek psychiatric and psychological treatment for themselves.
And listen, some people need it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. But you're going to make a claim that every single one of the family members needed that? Come on. We all have crazy uncles, crazy brother, sister, whoever. You know, some people say my brother is off the rocker. You know? But it doesn't mean every single body else is. So you're all guilty because one person's guilty? Come on. Everybody's going to need it? Jesus, give me a break.
Several priests blessed the home of the Smurls, who stated that they did not witness any harmful activity on the property, with one priest staying at the residence for 2 nights and claiming that nothing unusual happened. Despite the efforts of the Warrens and other investigators, the haunting persisted. The Smurl family endured years of torment, living in utter agony and terror, until they finally decided to move out of the house in 1988 and start a new life in Wilkes-Barre. After their departure, the activity ceased, and the family was able to experience relief from the terrifying experiences that had haunted them for so long. Interestingly enough, when the family moved out, another person inhabited the former Smurl household, a woman by the name of Deborah Owens, who reported that she never encountered anything supernatural while living at home. The Smurl haunting remains one of the most well-documented cases in paranormal history. Various media adaptations, such as books and movies, were created to captivate and educate audiences about the Smurl haunting's unsettling and inexplicable events. The case continues to spark debates and discussions surrounding the nature of hauntings, the existence of malevolent entities, and the enduring effects of paranormal encounters on those.
All right. I want to go back to here. What Ron has said. What evidence did the skeptic have that it was all an illusion and delusion? He was full of and he's right. What's evidence? It's easy for me to put claims on one person saying they might need some help, but you're making a claim that the whole family needs that kind of help. Now think about this. Now, if that skeptic saying they need help, go with me on this. Go with me on this, people. Go with me on this. If that guy thinks they needed help, that must mean he believes they saw something. He must believe that they really saw something and they're frightened about something. Because if you think a group are liars, if you think a person's liars, are you gonna tell a liar you should get a special or illusion test, whatever? Too, you need medical help where you need a doctor or something, right? You're right. You're not gonna tell that to a group of liars. So that means he believes their story. Now, how many times you hear on investigations of paranormal, going to haunted places that you go there and nothing ever happens for you. Nothing ever happens for you. But on the fourth, fifth day, something does. There was a belief, and everybody in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's people in the chat, maybe like saying the Warrens are legends in the chat, that there was a belief to really truly know that a place is haunted. And you're supposed to stay in a haunted place for at least 28 days. 28 days. They say if somebody stays in a house after 28 days, that the place is going to be haunted for you or not. And somebody says that came from the Warrens. I mean, I'm not sure about that, but I thought somebody said that the Warrens come up to truly experience a haunted place, you got to be there at least 28 days. And that makes sense. Visiting a place for a day is not going to guarantee a place is haunted or not. Let me see here. Let me see here. Hold on. I'm not sure Ghost Adventures did, the Ghost Adventures. I'm sure Zach and them, they probably, I don't know. You're right. I don't know if they've done it in that house or not, but we all know now Ghost Adventures is not Ghost Adventures. Zach is all about power now. He's all about power. So he's all about power and ratings. So everything he does is purely exaggeration now. Purely. So I don't even care about the Ghost Adventures anymore because Zach is not Zach anymore. Sometimes it's not the place that's haunted. It's the person being haunted sometimes. It follows the people. Exactly. That's the other theory. That a haunting is for the certain kind of people. For whatever reason it is. Nobody knows the reason is. You just don't. Why is this ghost attracted to this family or this person? Did they find something on property? Did they touch something? Nobody truly knows. But a haunting can be with the family. Some people, there's stories that ghosts and spirits follows the person, not the house. I've heard Amber's Paraworld talk about all the time that she goes to a graveyard and she'll get a ghost connected with her and brings her back to her house. So it's not always the house. Let me see here. Anybody? Still, they are Senator Warren pumped in the Senate now. Still are. They are the only needed peanut butter to fight the demons. I couldn't get a ghost to mess with me with a jar of ectoplasma. I am a group of friends now, an object more entirely of its own. Elizabeth Warren works for Obama, really. Robert, I think it depends on the energy of the people investigating the haunting. That's true too. I mean, if energy exists where enough to haunt a place, like I bet you Mike Long Island Bigfoot would tell you that some reason why he gets he might get more Bigfoot sightings because they know he's a good person. He's not going to hurt them. Who says that a ghost energy is not the same way? They won't hurt you, right? You don't know. You truly don't know. Now, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Listen, I'm sure a lot of their stories are somewhat exaggerated. I mean, I'm not going to claim to say every story they have said it was exactly 100% how they seen it or not. But they really, truly went on these cases. And whatever you fall on, I like Ed and Lorraine Warren. I do. And I don't apologize to nobody about it. Because one of the things that I love about Ed was on every investigation, he records tapes. He records every conversation. He writes down everything that an investigator is supposed to do. Writes down everything, records everything. I don't remember. I think it was the Smurl Haunting. Maybe it was the Smurl Haunting. I think it was. I wish I had that video clip where Ed recorded the police, and the police said, this place is haunted. Came straight out of that police. He had the recording of. So the very next day, the chief of police came out and said, there's no evidence of any hauntings. None of my cops have seen it. And when Ed went back to talk to the cop, he wasn't allowed to talk to him. He has it on tape. That's a great investigator. I don't care if you think he exaggerates stories. He probably has. Everybody has. But he has proof that when people said they've seen something, and then the next day, somehow, they haven't seen nothing. Like somebody told them, hey, shut your mouth. That's a great investigator. That's how you do it. You record everything. I'm not going to sit here and say every story if they've seen or not, or true or not. That's up to you. None of us has been on these haunted places personally during the time that the family has lived in. During the time the family has lived in, I could go to both these houses tomorrow if I was allowed to. I wish I could. Nothing happened. But I wasn't there when the family was, when there was the connection. But beyond that, let's look at the voting now. You heard both stories. You heard both. You heard the Snedeker House, the Smurl Haunting. Which one is considered the bigger story? Well, let's check out the voting here. All right. Out of 32 votes, only 32 people? Come on, do better than that for me. Come on. Put in your votes right now. If you haven't put in your votes, please put in your votes because we're using it right now. As of right now, the Smurl Haunting, 62% versus the 38% of the Snedeker House. Wow. Wow. And Giggy, I won't watch Ghost of It. No. Listen. Ghost Adventures, I used to watch a lot with my daughter. It's a guilty pleasure. We watch it for the entertainment value. You know, so I'm not telling nobody not to watch Ghost Adventures because, you know, watching an episode of certain places they've gone to might be the place that is close to you that you maybe want to investigate it, you know, because Ghost Adventures, they were on the Queen Mary ship, right? They were on the ship. So I went to the ship because they went there and they said, and when I went there for 2 days, nothing has happened. But I went there because they said it's haunted. Let me see. And they actually, you know, I was in New York. I was in the city of New York, and they apparently went to Ripley's Believe It or Not, downtown New York. And when they were closing, one of the workers, I gave them an extra $100, so he let me stay like an hour or so after they closed. Went to the exact same spots where Ghost Adventures went to, and of course, I didn't get nothing, no hauntings, no evidence. And there was another place I went to where Ghost Adventures was, but you could use shows like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, whatever ghost show as places that they've gone to and say, no, I'm going to check out that place. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you don't know, you want to go on a haunting investigation. You don't know where to go, right? So sometimes these shows, the places they've gone to, might say, hey, I'll check that place out. I'll check out that place. Zach wants the Annabelle doll from the Warren. The problem is, I don't like the way Zach treated his friend, kicked him off the show. And, God damn it. What's his friend's name that he totally screwed over? Brawl. I can't remember. What was the friend that Zach totally 100% screwed over? Someone in the chat, put it in there. Nick totally screwed him over. Says if he gets another show, I quit. That's baby shit. That's baby stuff. You know, listen, I don't know what went on between those two behind the scenes. You know, there's stories on both sides. Nobody knows who's really telling the truth. But if you're causing people not to get jobs and all that because you want to be the tough guy, that's baby stuff. I don't like that. I have a problem with anybody hurting other people of trying to get a job, even if you don't believe their investigation. So you can watch these shows as places you might want to check out. So I'm going to recheck out the votes again. All right. For today's battle, a fight battle. Look at the father. Look at my picture here. Look at these two pictures right here. Okay, hold on a second. Look at this guy. Hold on. These two fathers, they look the same, right? They look exactly the same. It's these two fathers did a fight in a ring. No whole bars. Which one of these fathers would win? Would the Snedeker father win? Put 1 that he would win the fight against the Smurl guy. Put 2 for Smurl. If these two guys got into the ring, who would win that fight? They both look the same. My God, they might be brothers or reincarnations of each other. Who will win that fight? Put 1 for Snedeker, put 2 for Smurl. I agree with you, Eric, about Nick thing. Eric, I didn't like it either. Yeah, like I said, I don't know what. Listen, they had a fallout, but band members have all fallouts. Everybody has fallouts, but it's been proven that Nick's shows got canceled early just because of Nick. And I don't accept that. I don't like that. All right, Dina says that the Snedeker House guy, the black and white guy, beating up the yellow guy. All right, we got one battle. So ghosts are attracted to darks. Read way back. Attracted to dorks. All right, Dina says. So is that the only vote? We just got one. We got one. If you're only gonna get one person gonna vote. That means the Snedeker guy can beat up the Smurl guy. All right, guys. Let me tell you what's going on for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, Bob and Happy Feet says the black and white guy can beat up the yellow guy. It's so hard trying to move the finger. God, they look the same, don't they? Isn't that trippy? All right. I don't have the link up for tomorrow's yet, but tomorrow it's going to be Robert Wood and Ron for Cosmic Neighbors. And we're going to be talking about some of the technology that Steve Jobs have done after he got fired from Apple with the next computer, and how things came out become Pixar or we're just gonna dive into it. I know it sounds weird, people. You're like, next computer, next what? If you come back tomorrow when I get the link up, I promise you, it's going to be interesting because, like the movie Howard the Duck, broke different kind of grounds with the special effects that was used in that movie. It was really the first of its kind, and a lot of it was thanks to Steve Jobs. A lot of people don't really know that, so we're gonna dive into a weird deep into that. And again, I'm looking at the votes. I'm gonna hit refresh on the last of the voting for why can I see it? Hi chat, show chat. Oh well. All right. Beyond that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I love talking about these battles like this. It's a way for us to learn both sides. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who wins. The winner of this is if you learn something new about these two, or not just learn that maybe these two stories encourage you to look into these stories more. And if that's the case, if one of you in the chat goes look up one of these cases, to me, that's a win. That's a win. And for the record, what Ed Lorraine Warren has done for the paranormal community has made a lot of people want to investigate because of them doing it. If you hate them because they're on TV, if you're a book, you got to imagine they encourage people to become investigators. Even if you think they're pure exaggerators, take that part out of it. They have caused generations to become investigators when the paranormal was thought of crazy people. And in Lorraine were slashed. They were criticized by people. Not because they'll use the word exaggerations or fraud or fakes. They were criticized because they dare to investigate the paranormal. They were criticized for that. And they use all this and that. They fraud. This doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They encourage hundreds, thousands of people to be investigators in the UFOs, in the Bigfoots, in the paranormal. And listen, if you can make a living out of it, so be it. Make a living out of it. I'm not going to lie to you. I wish I had sponsorships that came in and said, Eric, we want you to investigate everything. But to do stuff full time doesn't put food on the table, doesn't pay your bills. But if I was given a TV show to, like Ed and Lorraine, go on a show to talk about it, yes, I would do it. Because I wish I can do cases every single day. So, yes. And when people think, oh, he's going to be a sellout, I'm not a sellout. If I could get funding to even do more, listen, going in the mountains last weekend was freaking awesome investigating Bigfoot. Did I catch anything? No. I saw a strange light? No. But I freaking loved it. But to do that costs a lot of money. The food and the supplies. So and all that. And I went back to listen when you mentioned me, Eric. You're on point. You know what I mean? Jessica, you have a show. If I ask your group to come with me, I know you have a show. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be another case number. You're not going to keep. Now, we're friends. So I know we'll keep tabs because we're both in the YouTube world doing shows. But if I wasn't doing a show, if I was a regular person not doing a show, I'm sure if I had you out on investigation after I go on your show and stuff, you go on your way. You move on. That's what you do. Just like a doctor, police, FBI cases, you move on. So beyond that, I really, truly hope you guys enjoyed these. I love doing these type of shows like this because it gives me an opportunity to talk about these two and then the stories behind them. The voting part is just the fun part. Just, and I love, and guys, after the show, leave me a comment on why you picked Smurl. What was it about the Smurl Haunting that made you vote for them? And then on the other side, Snedeker, if you voted for the Snedeker House, why did you vote for him? Was it because the Snedeker House had the bigger movie? That's why? I want to know it. So leave me a comment on why you picked one of these as the bigger story. And trust me, guys. Trust me when I say this. I do respond to people's comments. I truly, really do respond to people's comments. So hopefully I see you guys back tomorrow. Beyond that, I want to thank every single one of you. If it wasn't for you guys, I don't know where my life would be. I mean, you guys, people say, Eric, you might need psych or you might need to see a mental doctor. No, you guys are my doctors. Talking to you guys what makes me feel good about life. Love you all. I'll see you next time on the Paranormal Highway.